stories, and I hope this new video finds everybody doing well. It's always a challenge out there, but I'm the eternal optimist. Things are going to get better and better as we go forward because I have the faith in the spirit of the American people and the technology that they develop. Now, why are we here today? Well, the topic we're going to talk about is he was a legend. He was a legend. You know, when you think about legendary people, you think about people that do heroic things. But before we go there, why don't you do something for me? And that would make me think of you as legendary. Please like, share, and subscribe. And that will help me with the YouTube algorithm. I'll say it correctly here in a moment. And perhaps I can share more of my videos with more people and help more people if you find anything of value here. So let's go ahead and talk about this idea. He was a legend. So, you know, people that do one thing very, very well are not necessarily described as legendary. People that may do something extraordinary one time are probably not going to be legendary. But people that do things just about every day or every other day or every month, you always see them in the news doing something that is significant. These individuals end up becoming legendary. And it's not because of what they think, it's because of what we, the observer, thinks, right? So to earn the title of legendary or being a legend, it's not something that you can make come into being for yourself, because it just doesn't work that way. It never does it? You would like to think that you're going to be legendary at some point in your future, and that's okay. I mean, we have something to work toward, and as long as you have that goal, we learned previously in another video that it's the work you do in striving toward that goal that matters. So if you want to become legendary, do all the work and you're going to get that value, and whether you make it or not, you'll do some really good for the world, right? But there are some people, in spite of all this and the common sense about what I've just said, they consider themselves legendary. And there's no platform really. There's no body of work for them to stand on. Some of them say it in jest, and they're just kidding. Some of them say it in jest, but deep down they're serious. They think they're a legend. And some of them just outright believe they're legendary, and they're not, right? Now, where do you see these people? Where do you see these people? Well, you see them on the job. You see them in your personal life. You'll see them in a gathering of strangers, and you pick up a casual conversation, and the first thing you start hearing is, this guy's got all the answers. And he doesn't really. So let me share with you a little story. And of course, you guys know, if I'm going to share a video with you, I'm going to share a little story to kind of put the point on the topic. So I've had the good pleasure of playing competitive chess, and that was more so, you know, out of high school into college, and then as a working professional in my 20s. When I really got ingrained in my career, I didn't get to go off to tournaments and things of that nature. But I did go to one tournament. It was sometime in I guess it was in the late 70s. And I was pretty good at that time. I wasn't the best because, you know, Kasparov, Karpov, you know, Bobby Fischer, we think of these guys because they're international grandmasters. They achieve ratings that are just astronomically high, and very few people can compete with them, right? So when I mention these names, you kind of know the era that I was active in playing chess. So I went to this tournament off to another city, and you do that quite often to just, you know, see how good you are against other people in other cities, and to test yourself. So unfortunately, so did some of my friends from my hometown. And the only reason why I say unfortunately is not because I didn't want to see them at the tournament. I mean, they had every right to be there, as I did. But, you know, you play them quite often. You play them week in, week out, every month or so. And you just want to play somebody new. But be that as it may be, the first round, I looked at the pairings and I was paired with one of my friends back from my hometown. Now, this guy, he was a professional. I mean, he was a teacher and he was very good at what he did, but he had a sense of humor. And you have to appreciate people that take their job seriously, but they're always laughing and creating happiness around them, you know? So he was a big kidder. So his rating was quite a bit lower than mine. It was in excess of 400 points lower than mine. And that meant that statistically, he had less than a 4% chance of beating me. So he sits down, we go to the first round. He sits down across the table from me and he looks me square in the eye, you know, very seriously. And he says, "Ron, I want you to know I'm a legend in my own mind." We had a big laugh about that. He's a legend in his own mind because he knew the definition of being legendary. Other people make you the legend because of your deeds and your body of work, but we had a great laugh, and we went on to play our game and had a good time at the tournament. But don't you know people like that really think they're legends in their own mind? Well, they don't realize it's only in their mind. They think it's in everybody else's mind. Now, I know I've said that the mission statement for this channel is to spread happiness and joy, and also share some life lessons that might be advantageous to you to hear them. So even though this might sound a little negative at the expense of some of these people who are legends in their own mind, it's not intended to be. It's to share some information with you that when you see them, you'll know to do something that's very, very important. Run. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist it. Sometimes I can't help myself, right? But seriously, there's problems. And I'll tell you the biggest problem with people who are legends in their own mind. The biggest problem is they add negative value. Negative value. Now, what is negative value? What does that mean? Well, for those of you that may not know this or have thought about it much, negative value is when somebody comes to a team and they participate in the team, and the team is less capable than the team would be without them. Now think about that. Or they come to work for a company and the company is less capable than the company would be without them, right? Or they come to a gathering, a meeting, for the meeting to accomplish some purpose, like it might be a charitable organization or whatever, but when they're there, they can't accomplish their goals, the team meeting goals, right? Because these individuals are disruptive. They have all the answers, and the answers are not coincident with the needs of the meeting. And they might go on and on and on about how great they are. And so the productivity of the team crashes, right? It just crashes. So these individuals add significant negative value. And these are also the types of individuals that perhaps people cross the street to avoid, right? Have you ever done that? My wife and I have. Actually, we were out with some friends walking in downtown Orlando, Florida, and we were going to go to a nice restaurant over in the square over there, Church Street. I don't think it was really a big destination for people at one time, and then it wasn't. I'm not sure how Church Street is doing today in Orlando, but perhaps well, because Orlando is a destination. But we lived in Orlando for many, many, many years. But we were walking down one side of the street to go to this restaurant that we all agreed to go to. And all of a sudden we heard this shouting and this anger going on. And we looked down there, and there was this young person standing on literally a soapbox, screaming and spewing venom at everybody that walked by them. Now, I assume this individual wanted to gather their attention and get them to stand around him and hear what he had to say. But you know what the net effect was? As people were doing this, trying to get a good look at what all the commotion was about, they were crossing the street to pass him on the other side. And so did we. We went on down to Church Street, found the restaurant, and had a great time with our friends. But we avoided the individual that would have added negative value to our evening out with friends. And that's a very simple example of these individuals. Now, what do you do about it? If somebody is assigned to your team and you're not the team lead, right? But every time they go into the meeting becomes disrupted and it can't accomplish its intended purpose. Can you be courageous and sit down outside of the meeting and say, look, I know this, you may not like to hear this, but I think you need to hear it from me. Whenever you engage with us as a team, you disrupt the team, and the team is not very productive, and it's not able to accomplish its goals, and we're going to miss our customers' delivery because of it. I think you perhaps maybe want to think about how you approach engaging with people in team meetings and in the team environment. Now, the reason why I said it's courageous is because sometimes we would rather ignore it and not be drawn into that, right? Rather than try to fix it, we would rather go on and do something a little more pleasant and a little more productive. But really, in doing so, we are propagating the problem downstream. So courageous people, mentors, and other people who have a vested interest in the team's success or the project success, company success, or even the family's net well-being. You want to have these conversations, but you want to do it respectfully. I've actually had to do it. I achieved higher levels of management, executive management, and I've actually had to deal with people on par with me. And whenever they'd come to the meeting, I set up a meeting for a very specific purpose with my guys in supporting departments, and he would come because he had a vested interest in it. And he would endeavor to take over the meeting, and I would try to manage the meeting. You literally have to keep everybody on task and manage the meeting. And I also had this tack where I would say our meeting's going to last an hour, but no more than 2 hours, because sometimes we uncover some surprises in the meeting that we need to deal with and talk about a little further. But I said, if we go to 2 hours and try to go beyond, we're going to stop the meeting, reschedule a follow-on meeting for the next day. And you know why I do that? I had a friend who was a mentor that worked with me early in my career. And he was off in a meeting and his wife called. And of course I told her, I said, and it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 in the morning. I said, well, he's in a meeting. Maybe 40 minutes, she called back. And I said, well, he's still in that same meeting. And she goes, okay, well, just tell him when he gets out of the meeting to call me. About 10 o'clock, she called and I said, no, he's still in the meeting. And then she said something that's very memorable and really appropriate to what I'm talking about with a person that's legends in their own mind, right? Legendary in their own mind. She said, well, don't they know that the brain cannot absorb what the seat cannot endure? I'm going to use that word again. That's pretty profound, right? If I get a little antsy and I'm not comfortable, I'm not paying attention to what's going on in the meeting. So I used that throughout my professional career when I was responsible for setting up meetings or gatherings with people. And I'd say an hour, but no more than 2. And if it goes to 2 hours, we're going to reschedule if we're not done and create a follow-on meeting the next day. So we got to that 2-hour point and I said, okay, guys, we're going to reschedule for tomorrow because we've not quite got to the point where we need to be with this problem. And of course, part of the reason was the individual. And I said, okay, I assigned one of my guys to go ahead and set up a follow-on meeting. So I got up and left. I ran into one of my engineers the next day. And I said, well, did you get everything wrapped up and get the meeting scheduled? And he goes, we were there till 7 o'clock. I said, 7 o'clock? Why were you there till 7 o'clock? Well, he kept us. I said, there was no need for that. I'll talk to him. And he kept them for just talking about rambling around kind of the sidewalk, nothing really important. So I went to him and I said, look, you can't be doing this. The guys are talking. You're adding negative value to the team. We have to stay on task because we have a very short development cycle and a very short delivery cycle. And if we're going to be successful, we need the guys focusing on what's important, not what comes to some person's mind that is interesting but not appropriate for the meeting. And you know, he was big about it. I can't say that it solved the problem entirely, but he would have these cycles of getting better, and then he would sprint up again the hill, becoming non-productive again as a legend in his own mind. He had a comment about everything. Anybody says anything about something in the meeting, he had another comment to add, and it was really no value added. So we'd have to tap it down periodically. So that's the reason why I said, if you see these people walking towards you, run. But realistically, I'm kidding. Sit down with them. Try to mentor them a little bit, even if they happen to be above your pay grade. I actually heard a vice president say something to one of his subordinates about some problem that he had created, and it was in front of lots of other people. And I went to the vice president's office and said, look, you just undercut his moral authority by drilling him and talking the way you did to him in front of the people that work for him. I said, that was no good. Now, he might not have appreciated that, but he wasn't my VP, right? He listened. And later on, I found out that he talked to my VP, and they kind of laughed that, you know, it happened. But I suppose he took it a little serious. The point I'm trying to make is that when you see things like this, and you see people that are legends in their own mind, if you can't mentor them or have a casual conversation that's filled with dignity and respect for them, right? Find somebody that can. Don't ignore it, because if you ignore it, you become part of the problem. Literally, you become part of the problem. If you let it propagate downstream and you don't try to tap it down or find somebody that can help fix the problem, then you're part of the problem. And I know that you probably don't like hearing that, but that's true. If you see a problem and you're aware of it and you don't say something about it, whether you try to engage yourself to fix it or you engage others to fix it, then you're part of the problem. And unfortunately, that will catch up with you in your career at some point. I hope that you do all the right things and you have this fantastic career. That's my real desire. And really, that's my desire for these life lessons and stories that I share with you. Because we all want to be value added to our family, to nonprofit organizations and charitable organizations we may contribute our free time to, and especially to the companies that we go to work for. Okay? So I guess I'm going to finish up by saying, please don't be a legend in your own mind. If you're going to be legendary, let the other people say you're legendary. And if you see somebody who is a legend in his or her own mind, try to sit down and have a conversation with them. Be respectful. Try to tap it down right then and there. And with that, you'll add lots of value to your team, your project, and your company. And if it's in your personal life, to your family. You guys, you know you're always on my mind. Be careful out there. I wish you nothing but the best. And until next time, I'll see you in the next episode.